How you doing? We're back with number 13. 13. And I know some people are allergic to number 13. And if you're triskaidekaphobic about 13, then skip this one. Watch the next one. I know people who are allergic to number 13. I got one friend who won't wish me happy birthday on my birthday because it's the 13th. I'm born on the 13th, which is, for those born on the 13th, actually a good luck thing. It's like in some cultures where 8 is a good number or 8 is a bad number. There's good numbers, and I think it's 8. Yeah. Um, but 13 is hopefully it'll be a good number. Today I haven't got a specific thing to talk about. Maybe yearbooks. I have yearbooks all around me, and I can't remember where I put. Oh, here we are. Okay. Yes, I have all of them. And I read all of your comments. If you wrote in my yearbook and you wrote comments like this, okay, I read them all, and I have read them all on a constant basis. So there's that one is 1988. Um, this one I believe is the last one of the last. I think it was the last yearbook we produced because it was too expensive to make anymore. This is 2008. 20 years between this one and the last one, and this one, which was the last one for Westwood Secondary, because the following year it became Lincoln Alexander, and I have the first one of that series. Um, and yearbooks are always one of the things that I eagerly looked forward to, and I made sure I got one every year. And I started teaching at my old high school at Vanier in North York. And somebody gave me a yearbook from then. At the end of the year, said, "Here, you might want to hold on to this." And so the next year, I was at Royal York Collegiate, and it was there last year. That was the year before that school became the Etobicoke School of the Arts. So I got that yearbook, and then I moved from there to York Memorial, that school that had the terrible fire. And I remember I really loved that school. It had the greatest auditorium. It sat about 250 people. It had acoustics, and it was destroyed. The fire started in the balcony of the auditorium when somebody working and the wires short circuited, started a fire there, and it spread through the whole school because the auditorium was right in the middle of the school. But I spent some time there. I got the yearbooks from there, and then I came to Westwood, and I got the very first Westwood yearbook and started collecting them. So I have every single one, and every single one of them, I made sure I had students and teachers sign the inside of the yearbook because I tend to be. I keep things. I'm not a hoarder, but yeah, I got a few things behind me that I've had. They're older than dirt. I have books my high school books, all my university texts that I wanted to hold on to. I still have. Um, I often say to somebody, I have clarinet reeds older than you, and I do. I have a clarinet reed from the 60s, my very first clarinet reed that I started to learn clarinet on. So yeah, I keep things, but I read the comments, and it's bittersweet because there are students that I've totally lost touch with, and then there are students that I've given eulogies for, and I gave 4 of them in my time at the school. I was at several weddings and a few births of students, including one future student. Um, but eulogy is another thing altogether. When you get a phone call from the student's mother saying you were his favorite teacher, he would have liked you to speak at his funeral. So I did, Um, it wasn't one of my best moments, I don't think, but I did. And there were too many of them. 4 was too many. Um, at any rate, going through the yearbook, there's certain features in the yearbook, like best friends forever. I had a laugh about that because, oh, especially two kids in grade 9, oh, they're best friends forever. They wear this, they share clothing, and they talk, and we're never going to be apart. We're always, yeah, right. Well, wait until grade 10 and he meets a girl and she meets a boyfriend and this and whatever and a thing, and all of a sudden one of them comes running up to me. She won't call me. I said, well, she's got a boyfriend. That's what boyfriend, that's what happens. But how could she do that? And 2 weeks later she gets a boyfriend. Go figure. And then the teenage angst. How I survived putting up with teenage angst. This is why I looked the way I did. And here's proof of it. Okay? In the very first yearbook that I did a picture for in 1984 in the Westwood yearbook, okay? The photographer is lining up people against the background. And it was a dark background. Go figure, a dark background. So he's standing and he's telling everybody, stand up straight. So stood up like this. And if you look at my picture, I look like such a geek and a dork. I've got hair, I've got big glasses, I've got a jacket on, I'm thin as a rail, and I've got lots of hair. And as the years went on, and you take a look at your picture over yearbook to yearbook to yearbook, things get a little more saggy, and they tend to, gravity takes over, including the hair, and this is what I'm left with all these years later, right? So, and there was one teacher, and he was from Africa, and he was extremely dark, and against a dark background. In the yearbook, all you see are 2 eyes and teeth. You're a photographer. You're a professional photographer. Know your audience. Know how to deal with something like that. Now, today, when you go to get your picture taken, they've got the cameras and the light, the screen, and the this and the that, and they do it electronically, and they can put a background. They can make you look in front of some books like I am, except these are real. They can make you put you on a football field. They can put you in, wherever they want to put you, and if they want, they can touch up that scar that you got from an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, or fix your broken nose. I mean, they can do anything. But in those days, some of the pictures, I saw pictures from a 60s yearbook. When I was at Westwood, when it was Westwood, they had examples of yearbooks. And I took a look at the 1967 yearbook. And I'm thinking, the girls with the hair up to here with the beehives, and it was just as the change was happening from the early 60s, which is the way girls wore their hair. Hairspray, that movie. And then in the later 60s, you had the hippies, which are straight hair, no makeup, no this, no that. But I can imagine going to school, and I remember the teachers that I had in the early 60s in school with the beehives and everything. And I'm thinking, and they allowed smoking in school, which meant if you had a match too close to somebody's hair, the whole thing would go right up. There was so much hairspray. But this one's going to be my friend forever. That one's going to be my friend forever. And then grade 10, grade 11. And I would tell people, it's not how life works. Well, life works this way. In high school, you're in a cocoon of things where you're with a bunch of people. You meet them in grade 9. You get to know them, you do things and whatever, you interact and so on and so on. When you get into university or college or apprenticeship or whatever it is you do, or you go to work, your life changes. And all of a sudden, the friends you had in high school gradually fade away, and the friends you're now friends with in university, college, or whatever it is you have, these are probably better, they're more mature, They're probably in subjects that you have a parallel interest in. Maybe they're also heading to the same goal of whatever it is you're dealing with. And then when you graduate from college, university, whatever, you enter a postgraduate or workspace, and your cycle of friends changes again. But what I've noticed, you make your best friends in high school, okay, and then they fade away. But you make your best friends in university. If you take postgraduate, you start making enemies. You don't like people because you're basically competing for the same thing, or against each other. And I've had students go into postgraduate stuff, and they can't stand the people they have classes with. Everybody's competitive. Everybody is focused and oriented, and subject, and it's not fun. Because if you're going for your masters, you're going for your masters. That's always should occupy your mind. And then, you graduate from that, and maybe you get married, and all of a sudden your friends from university take a back seat, and your wife's friends and your friends, whatever friends you have left, get together, and that becomes your friends. Or maybe a social circle, maybe you join an organization or a club or this or that. And then as you get older, and what I'm finding now as I'm getting older is, some of your older friends are no longer here. Some of your older family that you may have relied on for support are no longer here. And then I'm not yet to that other stage, where you're walking with I'm close to walking with a walker, but almost there. And then my mother, who lived to be 95, she was the last one standing. Of all of her friends, she was the last one standing. And it's not fun to be that old. And she had often said, if I really get sick, take me out and shoot me, which is, well, we didn't do that. Well, we should have, but we didn't do that. But she would say it in all honesty, being that age, all your friends are gone. And these are all life cycles. Starting from, when you're a kid and you're playing in this, in the playground with your friends. Life changes constantly. And humans don't like change very often. They like things to stay the same, but they don't. So if I'm reading these comments in the books, best friends forever, and then I'm never, they're the best. We do everything together. Enjoy it while it lasts, because it's not going to stay that way. And it didn't, and it doesn't. Another thing that I had an issue with was prom. I went to the first prom at the school in 1984, June of 84. And I saw something at the prom that really, really broke my heart. And it bothered me to this day. Malton is not a phenomenally well-to-do neighborhood as compared to York Mills or North Toronto or some of the other neighborhoods in the city where, daddy buys his son a car for his 16th birthday. And not just a car, a Mustang. And not just a Mustang, V8, everything. And the first thing the kid does is drives it out of the driveway and gets into an accident. And so daddy says, it's okay, I'll just buy another car. That bothers me. But in the prom in 1984, and I got to know families fairly well. And that I know everything. And 90% of the time, if I say something and I say I'm right, that I'm right 99% of the time. Because you know that. And if you've asked me a question, years later, I'm right. And there was one family that I knew that the dress this young lady was wearing, and she looked beautiful in it, was at least a month's salary for her father's month's salary. And that bothered me. It really bothered me. It bothered me then. It bothers me now. There were families at the school that would start saving money in September for the June prom. Not so much for commencement, because they could wear the same dress at commencement. But I mean, these dresses was only going to be worn maybe once, maybe twice. And I said to you last video, when I first came to the school, commencement was in October. So they would graduate in June, and they'd come back the following October for commencement. And that's how it worked. So the family was saving up money just to buy the one dress the girl could wear at prom, and it really, really, really bothered me. So people would come up to me asking, "Am I supporting prom? This, that? Can I do something for prom?" No, that money should be spent elsewhere. That money should be spent on food. That money should be spent on other clothing for everybody in the family. That money could be spent on putting it away for. You're going to spend $250 on a dress. Put it away that when she graduates and she goes to college, university, she's going to need books or towards a tuition. That was my bugaboo about prom. And I disagree with a lot of teachers. "Oh, you're such a curmudgeon." Yeah, I am. Because I can associate with people not having a lot of money and having to scrounge, and to waste it on an article of clothing that's only going to be worn once, maybe twice. That bothers me. You got it. That bothered me. And then, we're going to rent a limousine, and we're going to... Okay, I get that. You only graduate once, and commencement, to me, was the highlight of the school year, and I said this last video. You only walk across that stage once. You only get a chance. Proms, there will be other parties down the road that you can go to. Or you can make your own party. Get a bunch of your friends together. Make it a big evening. Go out and have dinner. Rent a limousine. Go to Niagara Falls. Do whatever you want. But while you need to save the money and spend it on something you need to spend it on. That was my issue. Anyway, some of the pictures through the years, and I'm looking at some of the staff member pictures in the yearbook, and there's an awful lot of them who are no longer with us, and these were staff as a rule. I'm not just pointing the finger this way. School staff doesn't get the recognition at the time that they should get the recognition that from the students or the admin, in the same way that students often have their pictures on the walls as athlete of the year or this or that or the other. And there's an awful lot of staff that gave an awful lot of their time over the years and went totally unthanked. And the first one that comes to mind is Miss Evans. Miss Evans she could be involved in as many different things as she possibly could. And there should be a framed picture of her on the wall somewhere as someone who gave of time and effort to all kinds of students, especially Park Home and plays. She was involved in set making for a lot of our plays, along with the late Mr. Slater. So she's one of them. She's one of these people that gave an awful lot. There are teachers that did just more than teach. They would be involved. Mr. Finn is another one. If you knew Mr. Finn, you knew how valuable that man was to the tech department, to the school, to students, to behavioral students. The guy was an absolute wizard at being able to work with students with difficulties, and he could work magic. He really could. He's another one who should have his picture up on the wall, as well as there's several others, and I'll mention them. But yearbooks, I keep them all. They're all important. If you wrote a comment in the yearbooks, trust me, I've read it. I read them over and over. I think about you guys a lot, especially I think about the students who are no longer with us. Um, Other things, uh, other than yearbooks, the other thing is uh, articles of clothing, jackets, vests, shirts. I often said this to students. Whatever you're wearing for as an important event, for example, whether it's commencement or whether it's an awards ceremony or something along that line, a special presentation, um, hold on to that outfit. Not because you're going to wear it again, because you can't. You won't. Gravity will hold on to you and sort of spread you down a little bit more and like this, but hold on to it because it's something tangible. It's something you can say, I wore this. How many older people saved their wedding dresses from when they were married in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and they still have their wedding dresses? Not because they're going to wear them again, but because it means something to them. I know a few have set them on fire in a different way. That's not what I'm getting at. The other thing is, how many of you, hands up, how many of you have won a music award, junior award, senior award, stage crew award, and it's on your wall somewhere, or you know where it is, it's packed away? When I got to the school, there was a music award. One music award given by Mr. Waldhauser to the best music student of the year. That sucked. That's stupid. Um, when I came to the school, the first thing I did was created music awards. The junior award for grades 9 and 10, the senior awards for grade 11 and 12, and then a special award, a Musician of the Year award, for a student that stood out without any discussion. Should have been obvious that these students, the student, was so far above everybody else that it was obvious. And the fourth award that I created was the Stage Crew Award, because when I got to the school, there wasn't a stage crew. There was one or two guys working, and that was it. And I recruited them to work West Side Story. The next year, we started a stage crew, in 1983-84. We started a stage crew, and we got a stage crew award. We made a stage crew award, and that was given out to, initially it was given out to the crew member that showed the best leadership qualities and so on. And then I realized that so many of the crew worked so hard that they all deserved a show of appreciation. So it became the Stage Crew Award certificate in recognition of the excellent work they've been doing. And I created another award called the Francis Maver Moore Stage Crew Award. And Francis Maver Moore was a mentor to me when I was at Vanier as a student and then went back to Vanier as a teacher. More about that another time. He had a stage crew, but he used to handpick students with difficulties to be on that crew. These were students that wouldn't be involved in any other organization in the school, and he would coax them out and he would work with them, but he did most of the work himself. When I came to school, I patterned the crew after what he had done, and except for one thing, I went out and hand-picked the crew from the most capable, from students that would be in 50 other organizations, because you want something done, give it to the busiest person, and that's what I would do. If you were on the crew, with few exceptions, where somebody came up to me and said, can my friend be on the crew, can my friend be on the crew, and maybe we needed an extra body, and I said, okay, fine. But generally speaking, not only did I hand-pick crew members, so if you were hand-picked, you were something special. I wouldn't let anybody on the crew that I couldn't rely on. And then if you were made crew director, okay, you had all of my faith in you. And the people who were crew directors, and I can name a whole bunch of them, who went on to do other shows, and a couple of them went on to become That's their life. And it was gratifying because it wasn't a course in the school. You did it on your free time. You did it for no pay. You did it for nothing, but you did it. And to do something for someone else and not expect anything in return is the highest of the high. It really is. It shows who you are. But that was the awards, and I used to get flack for handing out these awards at the end of the year. What are you handing them out for? Why not? I was often talking to drama teachers and dance teachers and other teachers, art teachers. Hand out awards. Give a senior art award, a junior art award, artist of the year. Oh no, too much trouble. Too much trouble. Well, it's fine. That's why everybody flocks to the music room at the end of the day, and everybody runs away from other classes at the end of the day. Wonder how that works out. What does it cost? It costs a piece of paper. That's all it costs, and a photocopier. What does it mean? It means that you've accomplished something, and this award has been given to you by me. That's how much you mean to me. And I could give you something more expensive, and I did at one point. We went out and got these trophies, but they didn't last very long, and people would lose them. The plaques, not the plaques, the awards were never lost. In fact, more than one or two people would say to me that the anger management problems that their father had, where he would punch holes in the wall, they would hang up their music award or the stage crew award over that hole, not only to cover it up, but it had an inner meaning to it. I'll let you read between the lines on that. Anyway, that's as far as I want to go today because it's already long. It's amazing how fast this goes when you sit and you talk. I can imagine you're sitting there watching me going, you know, oh, is he still talking? Oh, okay. What's he talking about now? I know you guys. You did that in class. So did I. Anyway, get your second shots. Get outside. It's hot. It's warm. Sweat a little bit. And we'll see you next time. Bye.